Hey Danielle.
Hey there, Nick.
Have you ever played a game called N or a game called N+?
Way back in the day, I played a little bit of N+.
Back on the Xbox 360?
It's been a while. Yeah, way back.
Well, this
way back.
Here, what you're looking at is N+. Or wait, nope, this is N+. Or this is N+. Or this is N+. There are a lot of levels in this game. And the title screen basically just shows you a random one. There's actually, to be exact, there are 2,360 levels in the game as it shipped
oh my God.
this week.
Which then it's worthy of the extra plus.
Yes,
I'm assuming.
They earned that bonus plus in my mind.
Excellent.
It's interesting actually because they are touting this as the final game in the series. They say there will never be a sequel to this. This is the last end game for Metanet, and from here on out they'll just continue to update this version. And yeah, I guess if people aren't familiar, N+ is a platformer about a sort of ninja-like fella. It's but like it's
he's a ninja fella. I think that's right.
I think so. Yeah, that seems safe to say. And it's a hard game to describe a little bit, just because I think when people see this who maybe didn't play N+ but played a game like Super Meat Boy, people are like, oh, so it's just like Meat Boy, and I'm like, well, yes. It's very punishing and
there's some Meat Boy in there for sure.
For sure, but like it's a weird comparison because one, they're both from around the same era if you look back at their like Flash game roots. But the other thing is it's very floaty. Like Meat Boy is a game where you've got how do you put it? Like
it's very precise.
Yes, it's super precise, and this game involves precision, but in a different way, where it's like a much floatier type of. Like he's
a floaty ninja for sure.
One thing I actually really like about the way this game begins is the initial set of a few hundred levels called like the intro pack is all about sort of teaching you lessons. Like so here I'm going to retry that so I can get the gold up there. This level's called The 2 Methods of Ramp Jumping and the Control Thereof, Part the Second. So it's teaching you if you jump up a ramp and hold forward and jump, then you can sort of accelerate forward. Like there's a lot of momentum and acceleration that you have to kind of keep track of.
Yeah, and sort of on the baseline, it's like the reddish, pinkish, purplish dots are evil, and the yellow ones are great, and you have a goal.
Yes.
Like it's one of those things where the goals are very simple, and sort of the premise is very simple, but the execution is always really difficult.
Totally, it's very minimal. It's an interesting kind of design for a game because the levels are often so large, and your character is so tiny.
He's a very small ninja man.
Yeah, so these gold things that we're collecting are the gold pieces, which add 2 seconds to your timer. Essentially how it works is you have 90 seconds to complete these sets of 5 levels, but every piece of gold adds 2 to that timer. So that was 1 set of levels right there. And
I also love the transition effects.
Yeah, that's a nice look.
Pretty nice.
And just look, this is one of those games I think that lives or dies on its level design, and the level designs are so good. Like here, when I have to jump across to hit that switch, any of those dots I touch turn into bombs. So then I have to go back and hit this switch, now that door's open, and I'm running out of spaces to jump through, basically. And then you make it out. And it's really unapologetic. Like, the intro levels, I think, from the beginning are pretty tough for, like, the beginning levels. Like, they don't spend a lot of time holding your hand. They kind of just throw you into some pretty challenging stuff, especially if you're the type of, like, completionist who needs to go get every single piece of gold before you can move on, because there's a little pip once you complete a level and get all. So this is one that's kind of teaching you if you jump at the end of one of these little things, bounce cycles, you can get a maximum amount of air. There's a lesson in every level, I feel like, based on at least the intro stuff. Yeah.
Which is great platformer design, for sure.
I think so, yeah. It's something that, if you've seen Indie Game the movie, there's a great moment in there where the creator of Meat Boy is talking about how he structured the beginning of that game to teach players lessons about wall jumping and making levels that you can't beat until you've mastered that thing. This is extremely cruel.
This one looks, yeah.
I think I might actually just move on from this one without trying to...
That's okay. I mean, there's certainly an element of, because these are such contained rooms and contained levels, there's an element of puzzle design, certainly, and sort of the way everything works.
Yeah.
And I love that. I love sort of figuring out, okay, I need to jump here, then I need to jump here, and then I need to, like, just barely touch this.
Yeah.
You know, that's always really fun for me in a platformer of this type.
There was actually a level earlier in this video called Tiny Taps, which is teaching you that, like, if you slightly tap X, you will jump shorter. You'll do sort of a short hop. Even the level titles give you hints on how to, like this one's called Triangle to Retry, which may or may not factor into the solution.
Yeah, yes.
Which, in hindsight, now I'm trying to figure out how you actually beat that level and still get the gold. Maybe if you jump out quickly enough.
Oh, possibly.
But yeah, a big part of this game, the second level in the game actually is called something like a lesson on accepting your limitations, and it's this room where the roof is covered in gold, and like a novice player could never ever in a million years get all of it, and it's kind of teaching you, hey, it's okay to move on from a level without getting every single piece of gold in it.
Yeah, just like the best Mario 64 levels,
Yes.
they always kind of had a hint of.
And you may have
what's
just
going
seen
on
me change the complete color palette of the game there.
Oh yeah.
Which you can do at almost at any time between levels by holding the left trigger. There's just this huge palette of other color schemes. I think there's like 50 in the game, but you sort of start out with just a handful. I've just only unlocked the first like 7, I think. And
that's really cool.
Yeah, it actually really changes the feel of it. And what's interesting too is they're not just pure palette swaps. They're also, this is the soundtrack here.
Nice.
They also will sort of change the look of it. So like, for example, this stage is blue levels with a white background, but there's another palette that is all black where the level outlines are just like a thin white line. That one's called Retro.
Wow.
And it displays them in a totally different way here. I don't know, I have been playing just a preposterous, I like this one, you gotta use the enemies as platforms to get all the gold here.
Oh, it's perfect.
I have had a lot of trouble putting this game down. I think I put more time into N+ than I initially remembered. It was one of my favorite Xbox Live Arcade games, one of kind of the first ones that I ever put a lot of time into.
Yeah, it was a big deal back in the early XBLA kind of days there.
It definitely was. It was one of those first games I feel like that made that transition from like a little indie Flash game back in the days when most indie games were Flash games, and onto like a console. It was kind of a big deal for them, and that was like 7 years ago at this point.
Yeah,
it's kind of cool to see them revisiting it, even if I am curious what the next Metanet project that has nothing to do with this looks like. I'm really enjoying this so far.
Have they made anything other than N+ games or N games?
I think there was like a scrapped project that they were working on before N+, and then eventually they were like, you know what, we just want to really put a final bow on this. This is actually a user-generated level that I found online. There's a whole level sharing thing in here too. What's really cool is I remember the level sharing on Xbox 360 not being awesome, I think because of limitations that Microsoft had put in place. Like, you couldn't really easily share levels with other players, and now it's a new era, so you can kind of just hop on there. There's hundreds of them. There's one I posted a video of earlier this week that's just basically a Rube Goldberg machine where you don't touch the controller and it plays itself, kind of like in the vein of those automatic Mario ROM hacks.
Those are great.
Yeah, this level is brutal. And this is like, all this footage is from before the game came out. The game came out yesterday, Tuesday, and there was already kind of a wealth of like cool stuff from beta testers and maybe people in Australia who had gotten it already. There's a lot. There's just a ridiculous amount of content here. One actually cool thing about how they're doing the pricing model is it's $20 at launch for like 2,300 levels, right? And if you buy the game, you get essentially a lifetime pass to every DLC pack they ever do in the future. The way they're describing it now is that they're going to do a big update eventually that will actually make them increase the price of the game. But if you get in now while it's $20, you will automatically get access to all that stuff. This level,
that's a pretty sweet deal. Oh man.
Yeah, look at that. So those things speed you up, and then eventually the momentum just kills you. Because one thing I think a lot of people forget about this game is that there's totally fall damage. Like, if you fall from high enough or going into a wall at too quick of speed, you die. But yeah. And here's
clever. Oh, Polygon. Yep. Oh, look at that.
It was funny. I posted this level and then came back to record this video, and 3 other people had already set high scores on it, which was kind of neat.
That's kind of nice to see.
This is my first attempt at making a level, and I made a hard one. They don't actually require you to beat a level before posting it, so you could make an impossible one. I did beat this one at one point because I've got my name on the leaderboards for it, but I'm not sure.
There's proof.
There is evidence somewhere.
Yeah.
If you pause on the high score screen, but yeah, this is a toughie. And a lot of the levels in this game are toughies. I've already gotten day one. I got the trophy for retrying a level 100 times. Like,
oh wow!
It really lends itself to that obsessiveness. I'm still trying to emotionally make myself let go of the idea of getting every piece of gold.
Yeah, you're clearly like, well, you're also really tempting players here by putting that exit so close.
I know,
to the entrance. Like, oh, you know, we could do this. Oh man, that's actually really interesting design.
The way I've
Good
sort
job,
of set
Nick.
it up is there's a switch there that'll open the door, so they don't have to jump all the way back once they hit that switch. I don't even remember if I successfully completed in this run. Oh my god! Yes!
You did it!
Alright, cool.
Yay.
That's a happy ending.
Oh, that's beautiful.
But yeah, that's a look at N++. It is kind of becoming my go-to game when I load up my PS4 and I just see what's on the dashboard there. I am really having a good time with it. And it's a good, like, the soundtrack's incredible. There's a ton of music. It's a good, like, occupying your mind and your hands and the lizard part of your brain while, I don't know, listening to a podcast or something. It's that game for me. I feel like this is going to be on the front screen of my PS4's cross-media bar for, like, the next 3 years.
Oh, perfect.